Influential Sports, where passion meets precision. Diving, as I'm your host Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. Ignore the background. A lot going on today. But to get into this top 10 point guards list, let me just start with the criteria and breaking down how we'll do that. As far as my list goes, I did centers, power forwards, small forwards, shooting guards. So I did it backwards. Instead of going from point guard to center, I went from center to point guard. And then next week, sometime I have my top 10 players list out. Make sure you tune into my episode of my podcast, which is episode 64. If I'm not mistaken, I have to check that to make sure, as I just hit 450 subs, so that's great. But episode 63 of my podcast will be taking place tomorrow, as I will be doing my WNBA award show recapping impact from this week. I will have those shorts out soon as well, so make sure y'all tune in for that. But now let's get into the criteria. Sorry for the long intro, but the criteria for this list, obviously playoff progression, that's been a thing for everybody. How will you perform in the point guards? This going to be the most important position when it comes to playmaking. So it's not just assists, but also setting your teammates up and what you're able to do. You can get a bunch of assists, but and also playmaking. It's not just about getting the assists. It's how well you can just set up plays in general for yourself, for your teammates, being able to get others involved. Scoring is important. These guys are great scorers, and the point guard position was the toughest to rank. It is for certain guys to get into the All-Star game. And this is the one position where, like, all-star games, I didn't really take, like, obviously I took it into account, but for point guards, it was like, this been the toughest position to get an all-star at for the last few years. I definitely say this decade for sure. So this is easily the most stacked position. This one I had the most difficult time making, because I had a list of 15 point guards, and I didn't want to do a top 15 list. I just wanted to have 2 or 3 honorable mentions, but I probably could have got to 20 with some really solid point guards on that list. Guys, but they still should get at least some type of recognition. But to get into my 3 honorable mentions, I got Darius Garland is one of my honorable mentions. He's great in the regular season, but his playoff performances and struggles, and it's affected them the last 2 years with them losing in the second round. So Darius Garland, and I like Darius Garland. I have a Darius Garland jersey, so he just got to step it up when it comes playoff time. The Aaron Fox is another honorable mention, and he just suffers from the fact that the other point guards around him are just better. It's not that the Aaron Fox is bad. I just think the guys above him are just simply better than him. Then for Tyrese Maxey, he's just been in an unfortunate situation in Philadelphia where he's won most improved, and he's did that. He's had a great 5 years in the league, if I'm not mistaken. But he been injured the last few years, and then he was injured most of last season. So in that time while you're injured, they allows other guys, like specifically the guy at 9 I had, to move above certain people. Tyrese Maxey, De'Aaron Fox, and Darius Garland are my 3 honorable mentions. And if you put them at 10 above the guy I had there, I wouldn't even have a problem with that. Like, this was a very difficult list to make. But at 10, I ended up deciding to go with Ja Morant. I think he's been good. Obviously, he's dealt with some stuff with the gun issues and stuff like that. Has been solid come playoff time. Obviously, this last playoffs, he only played 3 games and was struggling due to injury. Now, credit to OKC's defense for playing that well. Yeah, he can't just ignore that. And like I said, Ja Morant, he relies a lot on his athleticism, which is why I think he's been consistently hurt, which there was some that Derrick Rose suffered from. So I think he needs to develop more of a three-point shot. And a lot of these guys are pretty good three-point shooters for the most part. But then the guy, he didn't win this award, but he was in that race. Cade Cunningham, I got him at 9. Just because he had a great season, and I know some people want to put him in those top 5, top 6 talks. I don't think he's there yet. He's going to get there, but I can't put Cade there yet because we got to see consistency. Like, he's gotten better each year. I'm not saying that he hasn't been consistent, but we haven't seen this version of Cade Cunningham. Like, as a number 1 pick, you're supposed to progress and get better each and every season, and he did that. The Pistons had some solid off-season additions, and Cade was able to lead them to the playoffs and a series where he looked good. And for his first ever playoff series, I was very impressed. That's why I'm confident I can put him above the Ja Morants of the world, because Cade, relatively compared to Ja and these other guys, he stayed healthy. The advantage he have over Garland is that I take him as a playmaker of the series alone. He proved that he'll be a better playoff performer. Darius Garland hasn't had as good as a playoff performances as what Cade Cunningham had this past season. So I think Cade Cunningham is good at 9, but he's definitely going to move up. Like, I don't see where he falls unless an injury or something happens, which we don't hope for. But it's only room for Cade to go up. I best believe he will be a top 5 point guard someday in this league, and that could be very soon. But at number 8, I got Damian Lillard, who his offensive production has still been elite with the Bucks. His offense has still been great. Obviously, he's never been a good defender, but he's that playmaker, he's that closer that the Bucks were looking for. Obviously, getting rid of Drew hurts their defense. So I can't put that blame on Damian Lillard because the Bucks knew what they were getting into with the archetype of player that obviously this playoffs was a struggle with the injuries, and in the season before that, trying to carry them on his back, which he had a solid showing versus the Pacers in that first series with Giannis missing multiple games. But Dame, it's a case of some of these other guys have surpassed him. Because obviously in the past, Dame would be in that top 5, but his other guys have surpassed him. Age has caught up to him a little bit with the injuries he's suffered recently. I'm not talking about the blood clot. That's not something you can really specifically, but he has had injuries the past few years that have kept him out of action. So while his offensive production has still been elite, I don't think it's been as good to keep him as a top 5 point guard, and I do see him falling down this list. He still did good in the playoffs, but his defense still hasn't improved. It's been the same for his career pretty much. Like, he's really no improvements. Like, since that Western Conference Finals appearance, and that's probably the best he was at defensively. And even then, it's not like he was some great defender. And then, speaking of not so great defenders, at number 7, I have Trae Young, who is one of the best playmakers in the league, in my opinion. He doesn't get enough respect. In my opinion. He's one of the best playmakers. It's a few times where he should have been an all-star where he wasn't. He's giving you 25 plus a night, giving you 10 plus assists. And I feel like he came in, obviously shooting the long-range three coming from Oklahoma. And then even in the playoffs, his efficiency may not be the greatest, but he still did what he could to will his team to wins. Like, the only playoff series where he struggled heavily to where he just couldn't put points on the board was the Heat series, where he averaged like 15. But even against the Celtics, not that in one of these past 2 seasons, he had a really good series. He even led them to, that series went to 6 games if I'm not mistaken. It was either 5 or 6, but he led that Hawks team and pushed the Celtics, which was very surprising because many people wasn't expecting that. Like, we knew that the Celtics would win, but the fact that Trae Young was able to lead that team to 2 victories, because these Hawks teams they haven't improved since 2021. It's just been the same. They tried the DeJounte Murray thing, but DeJounte and Trae, they both need the ball. At least at this point in DeJounte's career, he needs the ball more. Obviously, a younger DeJounte, one that was playing with the Spurs, that'd be a bit different. It would have worked out better that way. But the timelines didn't mesh well with each other with the point that he's at in his career now. But Trae Young, I do think he can get back to those ways of being a top 5 point guard. I do think he has been at that point. But that Heat series definitely brought him down. And Trae Young is my favorite player in the league. But that Heat series was really bad. So we got to take that into account. That was probably the best defense he's ever saw come playoff time, so that's what really moved him down on this list in the past few years, and he's still been good, like I said, and he has been injured here and there. It ain't been nothing like super crazy to where you fear that he's going to be injury prone. It ain't been nothing like that, but these other guys, they have much larger playoff sample sizes, and they've just been better. Like I said, Trae Young has been one of the best playmakers in the league still. He's been a great scorer. The efficiency, that still can improve a little bit. He does. He's still that shot chucker archetype, but in his case, I get it, because he, like, with him and LaMelo, like in their case, I ain't even mentioned LaMelo, which shows you how talented this point guard list is. But in his case, it's not like I can be mad at it, because at the end of the day, who else is around him? Jalen Johnson consistently injured. Dyson Daniels, he really just got into his own form for real, so he's gonna be good. I think this Hawks team can be decent next year. They got to take advantage of the injuries that the Eastern Conference has and go on another deep run like in 2021 to put pressure on that front office. And I'm not going to be begging for traded league, stuff like that. That's necessary. But if it don't work out and he does get the chance to leave in free agency, that's what he decides to do, because the Hawks haven't did nothing to continue to build. They haven't built a contending team around Trae Young. Like in 2021, many people didn't expect him to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think Trae is still, the efficiency needs to improve, and he is the worst defender, one of the worst in the league. Definitely the worst on this list, so that's something he still needs to improve on. But he's so elite offensively that I can't just leave him off the list, because he's creating a lot of open opportunities, a lot of open looks for his teammates. His gravity is insane. So he's so elite offensively to where I can put him in the top 10, but the defense is still so bad, and he doesn't have many. I mean, he had a few playoff appearances since 2021, but he hasn't looked as good as he did in that 2020. I give him credit for leading the Hawks to 2 wins against that Celtics team. They went on to win the championship, but aside from that, doesn't have any memorable moments, especially compared to the other guys that have above him. Then at number 6, I got James Harden, who is underrated, and he's a top 25 player of all time in my top 30 at worst, but that's just my personal opinion. But James Harden, back-to-back seasons, averaging 10 plus assists. He averaged 8 this season. So he's been averaging around 9 to 10 assists per game the last 3 years. He's really added a new look to that Clippers team. Just this past season alone, with Kawhi being out in the first half of the season, who was there carrying that team? It was James Harden and Norman Powell. They was the two doing their thing. And then, so they got top 10 guys at every position, but one of their top 10 guys, and Kawhi, was out for about 50 games, and Harden had to put the team on his back. He was an all-star this season for a reason. Then you tried it out with Harden. It didn't work out, but you seen with James Harden and Kawhi, it can work much better and much cheaper. Now, what's going on with Kawhi in that situation? I don't know. That's kind of weird, and I think somebody is lying, because in 2022, Kawhi was recovering from his ACL tear. So if y'all seen that post about that post, kind of weird. That's misleading. Because how could he be getting money if he could still be getting money under the table, but he was recovering from an ACL injury in 2020. So that don't make sense to me. So of course he could barely play that many games that season. But back to the topic, back to James Harden. James Harden has still been great. He's still been a great playmaker. And I know people make fun of the playoff struggles, but with the Clippers, his only playoff struggles really, it came in Game 7 or elimination games specifically. Like in that Nuggets series, he was for the most part, he played a good series up until Game 7. So, and obviously Game 7 is the most important. The elimination games are the most important in general. But if you have a 7-game series and you have one bad game, obviously it came at the worst time possible, but one bad game out of those 7, and that makes you a playoff choker. I mean, sure, in the past, like James Harden, he has his playoff performances, but he only looks bad in elimination games. I just think that's the thing with Harden. Out of all the playoff games he's had, the worst ones come when the pressure is on the most, which obviously that's important, but every playoff game is important. Let's not act like Game 7 is the only one that matters. Like I said, it's the most important if you get to that Game 7, or if you're down 3-0 and it's Game 4, elimination game is the most important. But don't act like don't negate the stuff James Harden did before that to get them to that point, to put them in that position. And his defense has improved over the years. Since leaving Philly to come to the Clippers, his defense has improved a little bit. Like James Harden, I've said this multiple times, that his post defense has improved a lot compared to his when he was in Houston. And I don't even think he was bad as a post defender, but I think that's something that you don't see many guards taking pride in, as a shooting guard or a point guard. And obviously he can play shooting guard as well. That's what he did for most of his career, but being a point guard these last few seasons. I don't see many point guards with good post defense. Like James Harden is a good post defender. He's not elite, but he's definitely good at it, or at least decent. If you want to give him good, you got to give him at least decent for being a decent post defender. So I got to give James Harden that. And then at number 5, this might be a hot take. This might cause controversy. This gonna get people upset. But at number 5, I got Steph Curry. Now Stephen Curry at number 5. Now Stephen Curry is still. I think Steph's best season was in 2021 when he missed 9 games and the Warriors went 1-8. That's when he was most impactful in my opinion. He was putting up like 35 in the month of April. They didn't make the playoffs due to him missing those 9 games, which the Warriors heavily struggled in. But that was the best version of Steph I ever seen. I think that was better than 2016 and 2015 Steph. It was just unfortunate that they were the 9th seed that year, so he wasn't going to be in MVP talks, even though he still was, because he was so phenomenal that year. But I think these past few seasons, it's not even a thing of Steph regressing. Like, he's still doing his thing, but I think it's 2 guys above him that are just clearly better playmakers at this point. And obviously, I know it's not a hate thing towards Steph, but I just think these other guys just gotten better and have played better the last few seasons, and they've been more healthy. Like Steph, he was just injured in this past playoffs. Obviously, it's not something you can control, but I got to take what I'm seeing. I can't just imagine a scenario where he's healthy, because that's not what happened. I had to imagine what I saw, which is him get injured. And I seen how it affected the Warriors. Obviously, they didn't look good. But Steph, it's not that he's bad. It's just that these other guys have surpassed him on this list. Like Steph has still been an all-star, still made multiple All-NBA teams. But should Steph have been an all-star starter this year? He definitely should have been an all-star. I agree with that. But should he have been a starter this past season? If you disagree, that's fine. But I got Steph at 5. I got him starting the top 5 at number 5. He's still great. He's still the best three-point shooter in the league. But these other guys have surpassed him at certain things, and he's still not. His best defensive years was in 2016. Like 2021 was the best offensive version of Steph, but his best defensive years came in 2015, 2016 when he was leading the league in steals. So let's go to my number 4, who is Jalen Brunson. I think although he might not be a great defender, he gives effort on defense. I've noticed that since he was at Villanova. Like, he gives effort. He might not be the greatest. He's about 6'1", probably 6 foot with his shoes off. But he gives effort on defense. And that's what I like about Brunson. He gives effort. He's a good playmaker. He's giving you 25 plus a night. People question the contract he got when he signed with the Knicks. Now I question the pay cut he took. Because I knew Jalen Brunson could be what he is. Now, I'm not going to say I'm mad at him being a top 10 player. That's kind of what he's in that range now, top 10, top 15. But I definitely saw him being a top 30 player with the intensity he showed. Even in 2022, when the Mavs went to the conference finals with Luka and Jalen Brunson, he looked good that entire run. And then the Mavericks not to pay him, even though he wasn't asking for much. Then the Knicks throw him this a huge deal, and he signed it, and people. The Knicks seen something that most people didn't. And they took him. You can call it a gamble, but it paid off. They done got to the Eastern Conference Finals, the furthest they've been since 2000. Now, obviously, with a weaker Eastern Conference due to injury, they should be in a good position to go to the championship, at least get to the finals. You signed Malcolm Brogdon as well. You still got a great team surrounding Brunson. But Brunson's did a really good job. His playmaking has been great. I'm pretty sure he won Clutch Player of the Year. Jalen Brunson won Clutch Player of the Year last year. And he was my pick. I said Jalen Brunson should be Clutch Player of the Year this past season. Because I felt like when it came down to the wire, he was the Knicks' best player. And that's what was the consensus throughout the season, in my opinion. Then obviously Cat, he showed Cat had the clutch performances in the playoff times. But Clutch Player of the Year is the regular season award. So taking that and what it is, he was able to win that. That's why I'm able to put Brunson. I think the defense is what's separating Brunson and Steph. Because Brunson has added a lot on offense. The Knicks haven't seen success like this, like I said, since 2000. Like, they got to the playoffs with Porzingis, but they ain't see this type of success. They didn't see, and I think they only got to the playoffs once or twice with Porzingis and Melo, but they didn't go to the Eastern Conference Finals. They ain't seen success like this since 2000. So this was a really welcome sight for the Knicks. So he didn't really went to the big market and added a lot to that team. But at number 3, I have Tyrese Halliburton, who has outperformed Jalen Brunson. Let me not say outperformed. He led his team to playoff series wins against Brunson back-to-back years. And it wasn't that Brunson was bad. It wasn't that Halliburton just cleared him. But Halliburton, he's a way better playmaker. I will say that. Better rebounder as well. Defensively, I'm taking Hallie as well. And I think I would say outperformed, but it's not like a crazy margin like Brunson was just dog shit. No, Brunson was great. But Brunson was great, but so was Halliburton. Like, it's a toss-up between the two since they both added so much in different ways and they provide different things to their teams. Like, Tyrese Halliburton, like, he doesn't have to score for his team to win games. Like, the Knicks need Brunson to go out there and put up 28, 30 points in a game. As Tyrese Halliburton can have a 14-point game with 10 assists and 7 rebounds, and they're going to win that game because he's out there playmaking, he's out there getting rebounds, he's getting his teammates involved. That's Tyrese Halliburton's best attribute, his playmaking. And that's why he's so good, and that's why he's able to lead the Pacers to this, because he can let Pascal take over the offense and be the leading scorer, but Tyrese is still the best offensive player. Because he's not, obviously, and I'm not saying Pascal is bad offensively, but Pascal is just simply the better scorer. Hallie is the much better offensive player. It's more well-rounded on offense. So then when you put that duo together, when you have you have a great scoring power forward, then you have a great playmaking point guard that reminds Steve Nash, and people don't like that comparison. But I'm gonna just use that but most people are using that comparison. But a point guard like that needs a great scoring power forward. And Steve Nash had Amari Stoudemire. Who knows what happens if Steve Nash don't get hip checked by Robert Horry? That's a conversation for a different day. But this is Tyrese Halliburton has it all. He played in the finals, tried to play through injury, and further hurt himself and is out for the season. and that's just unfortunate. Tyrese Halliburton, he's a top 3 point guard in my opinion, and he's proved that these last few years because he does so much on offense. He's not just, and this just to compare him to other players in general. Like he's not worried about just scoring to get win. He's worried about winning the games, and he's gonna do what he has to. If he don't, now I do think one criticism I have about Tyrese is that he needs to look for a shot more. That's one thing. Like sometimes it's like sometimes he's just simply not looking for a shot, and he's just looking to pass. Like sometimes you gotta look, and there's other guys that look for shots more than they look for the open man. But Tyrese, he does a great job trying to get his teammates involved. But sometimes you gotta hunt that shot, and I think if he did that more, they probably will win a championship. And that's really the only. They need a center too, because on Miles Turner, they just let him walk. Bucks gave him a big ass contract. But yeah, like I said, that's my only critique with Tyrese Halliburton. He just got to look for a shot more. Now at number 2, I do still have Luka. He's been multiple All-Star teams, multiple All-NBA appearances these last 3 years. Still been elite offensively, led the Mavericks to the finals in 2024. Obviously, didn't look great. Him and Kyrie, shout out Kyrie, who was on my shooting guards list at my 5 spot. So like I still gotta give him credit because that's not like it happened 10 years ago. Like that's still 3 years is the most recent time frame in my opinion. And Kyrie and Luka, they led that team to the championship. And Luka's proved he can take teams on deep runs. Like in 2022, obviously we 4 seasons removed from that now, so I'm not gonna harp on that too much. But he led his team into the conference finals, and then in 2024, he seen what he needed. He improved on what he needed to do. In 2024, his defense was much better than what it was in 2022, and he still was able to lead that team. Then he was able to take those lessons he learned and lead his team to the finals. And obviously they lost to the Celtics in 5 games, but that run in itself was impressive from Kyrie and Luka. And Luka is so great offensively, like I said, a great playmaker. Him and Halliburton are the 2 best playmakers on this list, in my opinion. I put Luka 1, Halliburton 2 as far as playmakers on this top 10 list, and that's interchangeable. Like I don't have no problem with anybody to say Halliburton. Luka, he's always finding an open man, and then he can put up 30 points. We've seen him hit game winners. Like Luka has been elite since his 2nd season. Like obviously the 1st season, it was a bit of a struggle for him getting used transitioning from the international play to the league to the NBA. But he's been in the league 7 years, going on 8, and he got traded to the Lakers. That's not something he asked for. I can't penalize him for getting traded to the Lakers. I still think we should have kept Anthony Davis. That's neither here nor there. But I can't penalize him for getting traded when he didn't ask for it. Nico Harrison's just not a basketball mind. And I think that's a conversation for a different day as well. But I don't think non-basketball people need to be owning basketball teams. Because if Mark Cuban had majority ownership in the past, that trade wouldn't have went through. So that's just really dumb. But at number and reigning finals MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai is amazing. He's an elite scorer. For the people that say he flops all the time, plenty of superstars do. He's not the first player to flop. He's not the first person to invent flopping. I don't know why we're acting like this is something new. And then I don't even think it's accessible as people think. He gets to the free throw line a lot. Any great scorer gets to the free throw line. The only exceptions to great scorers not getting to the free throw lines is Steph Curry and Cade Cunningham. Most great scorers, not just in the NBA today, but in history, Kobe, Michael Jordan, they got to the free throw line on a consistent basis. Now, I'm not saying they were flopping, but now, obviously, you can say, like, even Kevin Durant, you get into the free throw line as a great scorer, and if you either aren't getting calls or you're just not a great scorer. You get into if you're a great scorer, you're getting to the free throw line 9 times out of 10. Most of the times, if you're a great scorer in the NBA, you're going to get to the line, you're going to get fouled, and you're going to get a lot of free throws, and he makes them, and he's super efficient, plays great defense. But Shai is the best scorer on this list. He's the most efficient, and then he's the best defender on this list as well. I'm looking at this list at the names that I have. There's not a better defender on this list than Shai when it comes to the point guard position. So when people ask me why I have Shai above Luka, despite Luka being a better playmaker, I would take Shai as a scorer because of his efficiency and how efficient he is, and his defense. He's a much better defender than Luka. And people like to say that he's overrated. You can call his defense overrated all you want. He's still a good defender. Much better than what. And then Shea led his team to the championship and actually won the championship. It might have took 7 games. Oh, it was an injury. Injuries happen every season. So I don't want to hear that. And Shea took OKC to the finals, won finals MVP. And let's not act like Luka wasn't in the same situation as Shea in his run. And people were arguing that Kyrie, if the Mavs win the championship, that he should be in conversations for final MVP. People were arguing that Shea and J-Dub should be in competition for finals MVP throughout this run. And what happened? Okay, so the Mavs went to the championship, and Kyrie, if I'm not mistaken, Kyrie played a little better than Luka did in their finals. They was both around the same range, but Kyrie outplayed him a little bit. And then Shea, he outplayed J-Dub, and J-Dub wasn't bad. J-Dub still had a great series, but Shea was the one that walked away with the trophy. He won the finals MVP, as he should have. Had a great season, won MVP, was in the MVP conversation last year. Luka was too as well. I thought Luka should have had consideration for MVP that season. And Luka did outperform Shea in that second round in 2024. I thought Luka should have won MVP that season. But Luka also had a chance to get a ring that season and wasn't able to get it done. And you can't discredit the Pacers because the Pacers beat top teams in the East. They beat the Bucks, they beat the Cavs, they beat the Knicks. Those 3 teams that everybody favored each other team against them. I think the Bucks was the only series where they weren't favored in, at least from a media perspective. Like, I don't look at the betting odds and all that. That bullshit rigged. But from a media perspective, that's what it seemed like. It seemed like the Pacers weren't favored in any series. Everybody doubted them. Not many people thought that they could push OKC to 7, and they did that. And Shea delivered. So I got Shea at 1. Shea is the best point guard in the NBA. I ain't expect this video to be this damn long, but yeah. So make sure y'all leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, comment what y'all thought, share for others to see. Hit 450 today, so that's great. Yeah, leave y'all top 10 point guard list in the comments as well. Hope y'all enjoyed this. Tune in for my podcast tomorrow, WNBA Awards show. So that should be super fun. And I have some other topics to talk about as well. Peace.
Today we're getting ready for community service. So recently got caught up, recently Tampa.